Hi guys, and welcome to the long overdue update on the AMT Ford Capri, resplendent in its gloss black paintwork on the box art there and its white paintwork on the box art there. Now looking back through the videos, it became apparent that I didn't actually do an update since the original unboxing, which I thought I had done after I'd actually taken the kit out of the box, cleaned it all up, cleaned it off a little bit and primed everything. I thought I did an update at that point. Clearly I didn't. I must have forgotten that one entirely. So I'm doing a bit of an update now, and there's more done on this than would typically be done in the second update to the series on a model kit build that I would do. First of all, I'm going to show you what we've got here is the underside, which is quite nicely detailed, as you can see. That's been painted in a satin black, and it's had a bit of a dry brushing on the actual floor pan with a grey. Now that doesn't come up as particularly clear on the camera, and I think I need to do a slightly heavier dry brush on that just to give it a bit of a dusting effect. The inner wings, which are glued in place but need painting, as you can see there. I'm covering this up here just so I'm hiding the body colour. There's a bit of a surprise. So you can have a look at that on the car body. You'll see that I've done the interior in a tan colour. We've got a light brown for the door cards and the carpets. Then we've got a sort of darker tan type colour for the rear boot carpet and for the seats with the black centre console. I'll mention as well, I had to do some quite extensive surgery on this body tub. Here where the door cards attach, you can see where they sit sort of proud of the body tub, right there. That was level all the way along, and I had to chop the difference you see there. The couple of millimeters that you see there, I had to actually take a razor saw and chop that so that this would sit properly inside the body shell. So that's taken several dry fittings to ensure that that sits properly. In addition, I've had to shave some of these moulded areas here so that it fits up into the curve of the rear of the body shell, and I've also had to chop down some of the rear section of the boot pan area here because it just wasn't sitting flush with the body shell. So that did need a little bit of, needed quite a bit of adjustment, let's be honest. That needed quite a bit of adjustment to make sure that it fit accurately. So dry fitting, checking, trimming and what have you is the order of the day there. If you'd have just sort of stuck everything together, painted it and then discovered that, you'd be quite frustrated. I know I would. We've got a lot of the smaller components. We've got the tyres. The plastic tyres super glued together, and the styrene glue wouldn't work on these. They're clearly not styrene, it's some other kind of plastic. They're super glued together. You could get away without gluing them just because of the way that they sort of sandwich together with the two halves of the plastic wheel that you see there. So it would kind of hold it, but I feel better with it glued because there's not going to be any sort of slipping side to side of the two tyres where they meet. And various ancillary components. There's still a few components to be painted, such as the exhaust here, which is going to be painted in a Humbrol metal coat, stainless steel, and given a polish because that's a good colour for exhaust. I would recommend that one. Some components are going to be chromed using Alclad, these being the rocker covers and the air filter. Now this is the standard air filter, but with the intake hose hacksawed off, or use a razor saw to take that off and then trimmed down and sanded. And the idea behind this is to give this a bit of a K&N filter appearance, so it's just a flat disc rather than your standard, again, black air filter. Now one of the reasons I'm doing this, as I've done with the engine block, you'll notice here the engine block is actually red with a black sump pan, and then we have the, if I can get that to focus there for you, the gearbox is black and dry brushed with gunmetal to pick the highlights out of it, which hopefully you can see nicely there. And the reason I've done this is engine bays on British cars are incredibly boring when it comes to colour, unless they have been jazzed up a little bit by their owners, unless they've had bits added to them to make them look a bit more colourful. This is one of the reasons I love American cars, especially American muscle cars, the whole sort of 60s and 70s thing, because you got lots of colourful bits. The engine blocks would be painted. Quite often the gearbox housings would be painted. You'd have nice shiny chrome rocker covers. You'd have, you know, brightly coloured HT leads, all this kind of thing. Whereas British cars, the engine bays of British cars, especially throughout the 60s and 70s, were built from the box labelled boring, dull, muted colours. Fords are a shining example. They used, we had, a lot of British cars had distributor cap covers which were a sort of a brick brown Bakelite. Not an exciting colour, but at least it added a little bit of a difference in colour in the engine bay. Looked quite nice, just to see something a bit different. Fords, no, they used a black one. I mean, you know, pressed steel black rocker covers, a plain aluminium engine block, either a plain aluminium gearbox or a painted black one, a black sump, black HT leads, black distributor cap cover, and you know, black radiator hoses, and I know coloured radiator hoses is only a more recent sort of JDM kind of inspired thing, but very, very boring. The point I'm making is the inside of an engine bay of a British car, incredibly boring. If you painted it all as it was on a model kit, there would be nothing there to kind of draw you in and make you look in a bit more detail in the inside the engine bay. So I'm trying to bling it up a little bit. So we've got a red engine block, we're going to have chrome rocker covers, we're going to have a chrome air filter cover, and we're going to have a brown Bakelite distributor cover. I know some of the purists will say, oh, Fords of that era didn't have, but you know, I don't care. This one's been sort of tarted up a little bit by its owner, who likes to make things sparkle a bit and look a bit special. So there we go. And also the friend that I'm building this for, it's the kind of thing that he'd appreciate. You know, it's, you know, he likes he quite likes these little jazzy little touches and what have you. So there we go. The other little bits and pieces, there's a few random little bits and pieces that you see here. You've got the carburettor on there, which is just painted in aluminium, and we've got various bits and pieces. We've got exhaust bits there. That's going to be Humbrol metal coat, stainless steel and polished up and that kind of thing. These just need a lick of paint and adding on later. The body. Now, here's an interesting one. Now, this is not a colour. I will state at this point, this is not a colour I would have even considered. And I was originally intending to paint the model in a shade of white, simply because my friend's two Capris, the ones that he has, are white 1980 Capri laser models. So for that reason I was going to paint them white. Now, I was sat having a drink with him a little while ago. We were talking about cars and what have you, and I was sort of subtly talking about car colours and trying to get information as regards his favourite colour. And he happened to mention that he has mentioned a time or two to his long-suffering other half that he thinks that the Capri, or one of the Capris, would look good in a Kawasaki green. So here he has a Capri in Kawasaki green. Now, I have to say, just pick up the bonnet or hood, as you Americans refer to it. Try and fix this in. Now, I have to say, this colour, when I first heard it, I thought, well, you know, okay, he likes that colour, he likes the idea. I can go with that. I've got that colour in my paint stash, so sure, yeah, I can go with that. But I'm really not convinced. I like it on the motorbikes. I'm a Kawasaki fan. I do like it on the motorbikes, but there's not as much of an expanse of green on a motorbike. You've got the petrol tank, you've got the fairings on a sports bike, and not a huge amount else. And I think it's a very, very bold colour. However, having said that, having painted it, I really think it looks rather nice. I know opinion will differ, and I don't know about you guys, so you know, by all means, throw in your opinions. There we have your Ford Capri in Kawasaki Racing Green. So there you have it. And what's happened with the bodywork so far? I'm just going to pop the hood off and pop that over there out of the way. Now, the bodywork needed quite a bit of clean-up. It was taken off the sprues, it was given a good wash. It had some mould lines down both sides of here and here on the rear pillars, which needed to be scraped and cleaned and sanded with a craft knife and then some sandpaper. The guttering sections that come down here, at the rear of those, they needed to be reshaped because they were quite badly out of shape. They just didn't look right at all. The moulding detail otherwise is quite good on the body. You've got the little 2.8. I don't know if we can get that to focus a little better for you. But on the side there, if you can see that, we've got the little 2.8 badge on both sides. We've got the chrome trim down either side. On the later ones this would have been a black kind of trim. The handles are painted chrome. I'm not sure if the early models were sort of black like the later ones were, but we're going with a chrome kind of look anyway. The windscreen wipers, the arms have been painted chrome and the blades will be painted black. This has been primed, so it's essentially it's had a good clean up of various parts around the wheel arches. There's a bit of flash and what have you. It's had a good clean up. It's had these mould lines reshaped here. It's had the gutterings reshaped a little bit, and the lines, the shut lines for the boot and the doors, which you can see there, have been deepened using the back edge of a scalpel blade, which is something I often do when I'm building car kits, and just run that around until it deepens that groove a little bit. That's also a good way to remove doors if you want to make doors articulated in a model kit where the doors aren't. What I've done then is prime the body, given it a clean up. It needed a further clean up on the roof area. I had some patches that I missed and a couple of other areas, and then it was reprimed again. Then it was given about 3 coats of Kawasaki Racing Green. It's actually Humbrol Green. It's number 38, Humbrol number 38, which is the nearest that you will get from Humbrol to a Kawasaki Racing Green. Could do with maybe being a little bit brighter, but I like the colour as it is. So yes, the green was sprayed, that was left to set. Then the silver, this is Humbrol Metal Coat Polished Aluminium, which has gone on the side trim, the door handles, the windscreen wipers, the badge on the boot here, if I can get this to focus for you. Very, very fiddly to try and just pick the highlight bits of those, but it's got those. What's going to happen next with this is this and the hood, the bonnet, is going to get a coat of Humbrol Clear Gloss. Once that's set, I will be picking out the rubber sealing edges, the sides, the entire pillar assembly and round the sides is going to be painted in a matte black, and then the rear window and the front window sealing rubbers will be painted in a matte black. These windows were fitted with the sealing rubbers around the outside, which is very common on British cars. What I've also done with this, as you'll be able to see hopefully there with that, with the grille just in front of the windscreen wipers there, I've given this a wash, and also in the door shuts. Not quite so easy to tell on this bit, but inside the door shuts I've given that a wash with a dark brown acrylic, because this is onto gloss that was thinned down with water. That's just to make that stand out a little bit more and make the door shuts a little bit more obvious. Gloss coat on top of this, and then it's going to have the black, because obviously we don't want the black to be reflective and glossy, it needs to be matte, on the windscreen wiper blades, round the windows, round the rear and round the front. Then that will be the body completed. Now, going back to the body tub, obviously I can show you this now because of the colour, and you'll be able to see here, hopefully, if I can get this to focus, that we've got some nice detail inside here. I'm actually really pleased with the panels that fit inside here and the detail on them. So some of that detail is going to be picked out, the top of the suspension struts for the McPherson struts, and some of the little bits and pieces, and then that will have a wash. That's not going to be gloss coated, that's just going to have a wash because the insides of the engine bay would be a little bit dirtier and more used looking anyway. Well, sort of, you know, through general use it would just be dustier and dirtier and have a thin film of oily mist and that kind of thing, as they usually are, unless it's a show car and these things are regularly cleaned as often as the exterior of the car. So just to reflect that, it's going to be a little dirtier than the outside. I'm not going for a really dirty look, but overall that's where we're at. So that's where we're at with the build. In the grand scheme of things, not really 100 miles away from completion. And once I've gotten the gloss coat on the body and then the black around the window rubbers and the windscreen wipers and such like, that will be pretty much done. And then it's just a case of the little fiddly bits and pieces and onto the floor pan and then fitting everything together. So I think we're maybe going to be looking at one, perhaps two more videos for the completion of this model. So thank you for watching so far. Check back for updates. Hopefully the next update won't be so far away. And thanks for watching. Check out my channel for other model related videos and other general interest videos, and we'll catch you in the next video.